Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are diving headfirst into something I think almost everyone struggles with.
Oh, yeah.
That sticky, kind of resistant feeling that stops you starting things you know you should do. We're talking procrastination.
It really is universal, isn't it? And you've shared some, well, really insightful material with us on this notes you took, maybe an article,
Hmm.
which is great. It gives us a fantastic base to unpack things.
Yeah, unpack not just why we get stuck, but
Mhm.
hopefully find some concrete ways to, break free and get moving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that resistance, that putting things off, it can feel totally paralyzing sometimes.
Totally. It hits
Now,
our productivity or, well, our peace of mind, even confidence levels.
mhm.
And one of the first big points we saw in the material, which feels crucial, is that procrastination is not just laziness, it's way more complex.
Right. But the good news, according to the material, is that the habit can be broken,
Hmm.
often with like surprisingly small steps.
Okay, so that's the plan then. Let's dig into why we do it first, what's going on underneath, and then shift to the practical strategies shared, the ways to actually overcome that inertia.
Sounds good. So understanding the roots. The material really hammers home that this is psychological, not just a lack of motivation.
Absolutely. And it lists several key reasons. One big one is fear.
Yeah, fear of failure is probably the most common one. That feeling of, what if I mess this up?
Right, so if you don't start, you can't fail. Seems logical in a twisted way.
It does. But the material points out the irony, right? Avoiding it often guarantees failure anyway.
True.
But it also mentions the flip side, fear of success, which sounds weird, maybe.
It does a bit, yeah. What does that mean exactly?
Well, like, what if you actually nail it?
Yeah.
Suddenly there might be higher expectations, more responsibility, maybe stepping into a spotlight that feels, well, uncomfortable.
Ah, okay. So even potential success can feel like pressure, triggering avoidance.
Yep,
Interesting.
definitely. And closely related to fear is perfectionism.
Oh, the classic. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all.
Exactly that. That really rigid all or nothing thinking. When the internal bar is just impossibly high, starting feels pointless.
Which links straight into overwhelm and lack of clarity, doesn't it?
It really does. If a task just feels massive or
Mm.
you genuinely don't know the first step, it's so easy to just freeze.
That where do I even begin feeling? So you just don't begin.
Precisely. Avoidance kicks in.
And in today's world, that avoidance gets filled pretty quickly, right? Which brings us to lack of immediate reward.
Yeah, and the huge pull of distraction and instant gratification, our brains are just wired for quick wins.
So studying for that big exam 6 months away, no immediate payoff there.
None at all. Compare that to, the quick dopamine hit from checking your phone, scrolling social media, watching one more video.
It's an easy escape from the discomfort of the hard tasks.
Exactly. Procrastination becomes the reward almost. It lets you avoid the negative feelings tied to the task itself.
Which is another root cause highlighted negative emotions associated with the task.
Right. If doing something makes you feel bored or stressed or frustrated or it's just plain difficult, our instinct is to avoid those feelings.
So procrastination is like a coping mechanism, a temporary fix for feeling bad.
A temporary and, well, ultimately pretty ineffective one, as the material suggests. But yeah, it's an attempt to manage difficult emotions.
Okay, so seeing it that way, less as a character flaw, more as navigating tricky feelings or perceived hurdles, that feels like the essential first step the material talks about.
Absolutely. Because once you sort of recognize why you're resisting, you can start using the right tools to work through it.
And that's the great part. The material doesn't just diagnose the problem, it offers solutions, practical strategies.
Yes, lots of them. And the core idea seems to be making tasks feel less scary, less intimidating, making it easier to just start.
Okay, let's get into those tools. One that comes up that sounds almost deceptively simple is the 5-minute rule.
It's brilliant, actually. You just commit to working on that task you're avoiding for only 5 minutes. That's the key.
Just 5 minutes. You tell yourself, okay, 5 minutes, that's it.
Exactly. Because, as the material points out, the hardest bit is just getting over that initial hump, starting.
Mhm.
Once you're actually doing it, even for 5 minutes, often that momentum starts to build. You might just keep going.
Ah, okay. But even if you stop after 5,
That's still progress. 5 minutes is infinitely more than 0 minutes. You broke the avoidance cycle.
breaking that starting barrier. Okay, I see it.
Right.
Which connects really well to the next strategy, breaking tasks down. Chunking, they call it.
Yes, this tackles that overwhelm directly. If right report feels too big, you break it down. way down.
Into tiny steps. Like the material gave examples, open document.
Right, create outline, write the first sentence of the intro, find one statistic, whatever the absolute smallest next step is.
Each tiny step feels doable, not daunting.
Exactly. And completing each one gives you that little hit of accomplishment, which helps you keep going. It's much easier to talk yourself into open document than write the whole report.
And that ties into identifying your next action.
Yeah, always knowing the very next physical thing you need to do. Not the big goal, but the immediate action.
So not start my business, but maybe research potential business names for 15 minutes.
Or draft email to potential advisor X. Something concrete, physical that you can actually do right now.
Takes away the ambiguity, makes it feel less floaty and more grounded.
Precisely, makes the barrier to entry super low. Now, the material also mentions harnessing external forces, like accountability partners or systems.
Right. Knowing someone else is kind of expecting you to do something, that can definitely light a fire under you.
It really can. The examples given were finding a friend or a colleague, maybe a mentor, just to check in with.
Or even making it public, like in a group or maybe social media if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, that public commitment adds another layer. Self-imposed deadlines were also mentioned, though maybe not quite as powerful as having another person involved.
Okay. Another classic strategy in the material is eat the frog first. Love that name.
Yeah, it's from Mark Twain. The idea is do your absolute worst, most dreaded task, your frog, first thing in the morning.
Get it out of the way.
Exactly. Once that's done, the rest of the day feels easier. Plus, you get this huge sense of accomplishment right off the bat. Frees up so much mental energy you'd otherwise spend dreading it.
That makes a lot of sense. And to keep things positive, the material suggests rewarding yourself. Sensibly, of course.
Yes, sensibly is the key word. After you finish the frog or maybe complete a significant chunk of work, give yourself a small, immediate reward.
What kind of rewards are we talking?
Oh, simple things, like a 5-minute break, listen to a song you love, make a nice cup of tea, maybe a quick scroll through a fun website.
Ah, but with a warning, right? Don't let the reward turn into another procrastination rabbit hole.
Exactly. Keep it short and sweet. The goal is just to build that positive association.
Yeah.
I did the hard thing, now I get a little treat.
Okay. And the last practical strategy mentioned was changing your environment.
Right. Because our surroundings can really trigger procrastination. Like if you always end up browsing the web when you try to work on the couch.
Maybe move to a desk or a different room.
Yeah, or put your phone in another room entirely. Use app blockers if you need to. The idea is to create a space that signals focus time to your brain, removing the usual triggers.
These are all really concrete actions, things you can actually do. But beyond the techniques, there was also this emphasis on a mindset shift.
A really crucial one, yeah.
Yeah.
Shifting from focusing on perfection to focusing on progress.
So stop worrying about getting it flawless right out of the gate.
Exactly. Just focus on starting, on making some kind of forward movement, however small or imperfect.
The material had a great line, something like, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
That's it. We get so stuck waiting for the ideal conditions or the perfect first draft that we never actually produce anything. Progress, even messy progress, is way better than stalled perfection.
That really hits home. And, thinking about that feeling when you finally push through and start something you've been dreading, that relief, that sense of, okay, I'm doing it.
Right.
That feeling is the reward, isn't it? It reinforces taking the action itself.
It absolutely is. It creates this positive feedback loop. Action leads to feeling better, which makes the next action easier.
Okay, this has been, super helpful. We've dug into the why and the how. And the material you shared actually wraps up with a specific challenge for you, the listener.
It does. It's a way to put these ideas into practice right away. The challenge is choose one task, just one thing you've been putting off.
Doesn't have to be huge.
I don't know. It could be small, like organizing one messy drawer, sending that email you keep meaning to write, making that phone call, just one specific thing.
Okay, pick one task. Got it.
Now, apply the 5-minute rule. Commit to working on just that task for only 5 minutes. Set an actual timer.
Okay.
And then just start. Do the first tiny thing required.
5 minutes, timer goes off. Then what?
Then you have a choice. You can stop, acknowledge you made 5 minutes of progress, which is great, or
if you've got some momentum going, you can just keep going.
Exactly. No pressure either way. The win is in the starting.
And then there's a reflection piece.
Yeah, the material suggests taking a second afterward to think, how did it feel just to start? Did you keep going? What was the barrier that stopped you before, and how did just committing to 5 minutes help push past it?
That reflection seems important for making it stick, learning what works for you.
Definitely. Builds that self-awareness.
Wow. Okay. So the big takeaway here feels like overcoming procrastination isn't about magically finding motivation or eliminating that feeling of resistance entirely.
No, probably not. It's more about having the tools and maybe the right mindset to just push through that initial friction, to simply get started.
Those small steps really do seem to be the key, based on everything we've looked at. Small steps leading to bigger leaps.
And that momentum you build, it doesn't come from waiting around to feel motivated. It seems the action itself is what creates the motivation.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Perhaps the challenge isn't waiting for motivation to arrive, but understanding that taking that first tiny action is the spark, the thing that actually generates motivation and builds that momentum you need.
Something to think about as you maybe set that 5-minute timer today.